Yes, today would have been a beautiful day to go up to the Tashi viewpoint where I went 2 days ago. But unluckily, I have a bus in the morning and I don't have the time to go to the viewpoint and then come back and get to the bus on time. So yeah, we have a little of the view now. It's a little bit not as good as it was a couple of minutes ago with the cloud moving in front of the mountain there, but you can still see some of the other peaks there to this side. Just go like this, right? You can see there's other up over there peaks, and then in this direction as well a peak, and then this whole area. Sorry, this whole area here that's covered with the clouds. Remember that tallest mountain in the world. Exodus chapter 22, verse 5. If a man causes a field or vineyard to be grazed over, or let his beast loose, and it feeds in another man's field, he shall make restitution from the best in his own field and in his own vineyard. Okay, so this is a situation where it had happened to me. Remember there in the village in Russia, we planted, well, 1 year, a lot of potatoes, and we had one huge harvest, tons and tons of potatoes, mostly done by hand. But there's this one field we got borrowed from other people. They weren't using it, so they were happy that we were using it. And we planted potatoes there. But then a couple of hours up, there were people with goats. And they just, with the normal thing is they just let their goats out. And we tried to build a fence around it, but goats, they get in anywhere. They totally destroyed everything there, like everything. There was not one single potato we got from that field. I mean, yeah, we luckily still had lots of others, and I just can't imagine what would have happened if it wasn't destroyed by the goats. How much potatoes we would have had then. Could have made a ton of money. Anyhow, but I had a lot of work. But yes, this is sort of kind of what is happening here. So this guy's got a vineyard, and it's now grazed over. Why? What happened? Because a neighbor or somebody let the beast loose. He wasn't taken care of. So the crop is then destroyed. Doesn't matter which kind of the crop is, with the crop being destroyed. So the person is going to lose a lot of their income, everything, their food, everything is lost because of the laziness of this one ultimately person. Okay, so even in this sense, it says he lets the beast loose. So it's not just a question of he let it loose. Right now, it does not imply that he let it loose to go into the field, but still he had to keep it tied up, or at least in a place where it can't create this kind of damage. He didn't. So this person then needs to make restitution from the best in his own field. So he needs to pay back, not with anything, but the best. You can't like, okay, you lost a ton of potatoes. Here's 5 green potatoes for you, which you can't do anything with, or 5 small potatoes like that or something like that. No, it can't. It needs to be the best in his field or vineyard, depending on what was destroyed ultimately. They had no fields at that stage, they had no vineyards at that stage because they were moving all over the place. But this is now as well for future reference. Verse 6, if fire breaks out and catches in thorns, so the stacked grain or the standing grain or the field is consumed, he who started the fire shall make full restitution. And I think this is kind of straightforward as well. So you have stacked grain, your harvest is done, grain, or it's still in the field, or just any other kind of a field. So, and it's destroyed in the process. So what ought to happen? The one who started the fire, I understand we're finding out who started the fire, but that person who started the fire needs to make full restitution. Yeah, you know, it's again in the introduction mentioning the fire there in California and all those houses, billions of dollars that were destroyed in the process. So just imagine if that guy who started the fire needs to make restitution. Well, he'll need to live a couple of lives, or he needs to be Elon Musk to just repay for all the damage. But just imagine if people had to repay for all the damage. It's not just a question of putting him in prison where he's fed and he has a place to sleep. Now, I know it's not a nice place to be, well, depending on which country you are, but still, he doesn't need to go out and work anymore. He's been treated, in the introduction I mentioned, it's like you burn down your house and now you still pay your tax money to feed him as well. That's a double whammy. Anyhow, In their case, they didn't have this, right? It kind of makes more sense. And so, yes, sure, that person would not be able to make restitution, billions of dollars, but at least he can go and do something back. Kind of. That's interesting, actually. Kind of in Russian prisons, what they do is people work in the prison and then they actually do pay for their own kind of upkeep, and they kind of need to pay money back to the system as well. So a little bit, I think, different than American. But I don't know the American prison or other countries. I know a little bit about the northern. Not that there's any prison or anything, or really any. And what you see in Hollywood, you can't really trust. But the point is, something happens, a fire in this case now, a fire. Clearly, this is now the letting loose of an animal, right, in the previous verse, but this is a fire which you could prevent, the animal you could prevent. There's things that you can prevent and you don't take care of it, then ultimately you're guilty and you need to make restitution. With the land, the loss of in the previous case, the animal destroying the crops, you need to give back the crops. And in this case as well, you need to make restitution if things been burned down. So if you don't have that, you can give back the grain or anything like that, well, then it's a financial restitution that you need to do.